The moment I heard the words, my coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. Through the glass conference room door, my father's voice carried with perfect clarity. Lisa has always been the weak link in this family. She's done enough damage already. Tomorrow we announce Nathan as the new CEO. It's already decided. My heart slammed against my ribs. The board meeting I'd spent 3 months preparing for suddenly felt like a carefully orchestrated ambush. The culmination of 15 years building my father's failing hardware stores into a thriving national chain was now meaningless. The presentation I'd stayed up refining until 3 a.m. sat untouched in the folder under my arm. The succession plan my father had personally requested was now worthless. What froze my blood wasn't just the betrayal. It was seeing my younger brother, Nathan, nodding along. The same brother who'd called me in tears 6 months ago begging for help with the Western Division my father had assigned him, the same brother whose failing stores I'd rescued, whose employees I'd retrained, whose budgets I'd restructured. The brother who'd never once shown interest in the CEO position I'd been groomed for since college. My name is Lisa. I'm 36 and COO of Westwood Home Supply. This is the story of how I reclaimed my family legacy from the people who tried to steal it. I should have seen it coming. The canceled meetings, the whispered conversations that stopped when I entered rooms, the sudden interest my father showed in stores I'd already fixed. But I'd been raised to believe family meant loyalty, that blood meant something, that showing up every day and working twice as hard as anyone else would eventually be recognized. What I didn't understand then was that some people will sacrifice anything for control, even their own children. My grandfather had started Westwood Home Supply from his garage in 1978, building it into 10 stores across Oregon before my father took over. By the time I joined after business school, poor management had left only 3 profitable locations. While my brother Nathan partied through his 20s, I worked 80-hour weeks. I modernized systems, rebuilt vendor relationships, and expanded into new markets. When my father suffered his first heart attack 5 years ago, I stepped in without hesitation. The company grew 340% under my leadership. We transformed from struggling regional chain to industry success story with 62 locations. The board loved me. The employees respected me. The succession plan had my name on it. Until today. I didn't confront them immediately. Instinct told me to retreat, observe, gather information. I slipped away from the conference room, heart pounding in my ears. I made my way to my office with mechanical steps. I retreated to my office, closing the door behind me as I processed what I'd just heard. Through my window, I could see the company headquarters I'd designed, the modern building that had replaced the cramped offices where I'd started as an inventory clerk at 19. The betrayal burned like acid, but beneath it something else was forming: determination. This company wasn't just my job, it was my inheritance, my creation, my life's work, and I would not let them take it without a fight. That night, I didn't cry. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and began what would become known in industry circles as the Westwood Reckoning. First, I needed to understand exactly what I was facing. I called Grace, my father's executive assistant, who'd known me since childhood. "They've been planning this for months," she whispered when I got her alone. Her eyes darted nervously to her office door. "Your father and Nathan have been meeting with Marcus Bennett from the board. They've been reviewing all your projects, looking for failures. Marcus Bennett, the venture capitalist who'd joined our board last year on my recommendation. The same man who'd called my inventory automation system brilliant to my face." "Why?" I asked, though I already suspected. "Nathan convinced your father that the company needs to focus on acquisition, not organic growth. Bennett's firm stands to make millions in fees if they go that route." She hesitated. "There's more. They've been telling the board you're too cautious, too traditional. Nathan's positioning himself as the visionary." The irony might have made me laugh if it hadn't made me so furious. Nathan, who couldn't read a balance sheet without help, positioning himself as a visionary using my expansion plan. The same plan he'd called boring last Christmas. I needed leverage, and I knew exactly where to find it. For the next week, I maintained a perfect facade. I smiled in meetings, congratulated Nathan when my father announced his promotion. I pretended not to notice the pitying glances from colleagues who knew what I'd built. But every night I worked. First came the audit, meticulous documentation of every decision Nathan had made in the Western Division, the inventory discrepancies he'd hidden, the sexual harassment complaint he'd buried, the vendor kickbacks that had mysteriously never made it into company accounts. Then came the strategic calls, first to Emily Chen, our largest competitor's operations director who'd been trying to hire me for years. I'd remembered she'd mentioned issues with an acquisition consultant last quarter at the industry conference. I had a hunch it might be Bennett. "I need dirt on Marcus Bennett," I told her bluntly. Her laugh was knowing. "What a coincidence. I was about to call you about his proposal to your board. Did you know he pitched the exact same acquisition strategy to us last year? Cost us millions before we discovered the target companies were shells. I have the presentation he used. Identical to what he's showing around now, just with your logo slapped on it." Next came calls to board members, not pleading my case, but expressing concerns about the acquisition strategy. I sent research reports at 2 a.m., analysis proving the dangers of Bennett's approach. I provided comparison data from failed implementations at other companies. I positioned myself not as a wounded heir, but as the responsible steward protecting the company from reckless gambles. By day, I trained Nathan with saccharine patience, documenting every mistake, every moment of confusion. By night, I prepared the trap that would ultimately save Westwood from my own family. 3 weeks later, I scheduled a private dinner with Gerald Hayes, our longest-serving board member and my grandfather's best friend. After gathering my evidence, I called Gerald to arrange a private dinner at Bellini's, away from any corporate eyes. "I've respected your father for 30 years, Gerald said, studying me across the white tablecloth. "But what they're doing isn't just wrong. It's dangerous for the company." He slid a folder across the table. "Marcus Bennett has conflicts of interest in 3 of the acquisition targets. Your brother has been promising executive positions to his friends with no experience. And this," he tapped a document with his gnarled finger, "this is the real succession plan your father filed with the board last year, the one naming you as CEO. I requested all board documents as part of my fiduciary duty. When I heard rumors of the succession change, your father never expected anyone to check the archives." My hand trembled slightly as I opened it. There it was, my name, my father's signature, dated 18 months ago. The ultimate betrayal wasn't just taking my position, it was erasing the recognition he'd already given me. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. Gerald's eyes, so like my grandfather's, held mine steadily. "Because Thomas Westwood didn't build this company to watch it become a cash grab for venture capitalists. And because your grandfather made me promise to look out for you. There's an emergency board meeting tomorrow. Bennett is pushing to finalize the acquisition strategy." He paused. "I think it's time they heard from you." That night, I didn't sleep. I prepared like I was going into battle because I was. I chose my grandfather's favorite saying as my guide. "In business, never throw the first punch, but make damn sure you throw the last one." The boardroom fell silent when I walked in the next morning, my father's face flushed with anger, Nathan's with confusion. I hadn't been invited, but Gerald's authority as chairman gave me the floor. "Gentlemen," I began, setting down a stack of binders, "before you vote on the Bennett acquisition strategy, there are some documents you should review." For the next 40 minutes, I laid out the evidence methodically. The conflicts of interest, the failure statistics from identical strategies, the hidden problems in the Western Division. With each revelation, my father's face grew paler. Nathan began to sweat. Bennett tried interrupting twice, but Hayes silenced him. I saved the most damaging for last. Bennett's identical pitch to our competitor, the one that had cost them millions. When I played the recording Emily had provided, Bennett admitting the shell game, the room erupted. "This isn't just about who runs Westwood," I concluded, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "It's about whether Westwood continues to exist at all. My grandfather built this company on honesty and hard work. My work brought us through recession, pandemic, and supply chain collapse. I've dedicated my life to this company." I met each board member's eyes individually, and I won't stand by while it's hollowed out for quick profits. The vote was 9-3. Bennett was removed from the board immediately. The acquisition strategy was scrapped, and the CEO announcement postponed pending full review. My father caught my arm as I left the boardroom. "You've destroyed everything," he hissed, his face mottled with rage. "Your brother's career, my retirement plan." "No," I cut him off, my voice low but firm. "I saved this company. Again. The company you were willing to sacrifice for your ego. The difference between us, Dad, is that I put Westwood first. You put yourself first." 3 months later, the board unanimously confirmed me as CEO. Nathan resigned his position, a condition I'd insisted on, though I made sure he received a generous severance. Not out of kindness, but because I wanted no legal challenges. My father hasn't spoken to me since that day. Sometimes I see him at industry events, aged beyond his years, nodding stiffly from across the room. I've attempted reconciliation twice, inviting him to company milestone celebrations, but he's declined both times. Our relationship remains professionally cordial but personally severed, the price of business integrity. Nathan moved to Colorado with his portion of the family shares. Last I heard, he was opening a brewery, something he actually cares about. We exchange birthday texts and occasional holiday calls, but the trust between us is irreparably damaged. He's never apologized for his role in the attempted takeover. People sometimes ask if I regret the family cost, if winning the company was worth losing my father and brother. They don't understand that I didn't destroy my family, I simply exposed what was already broken. The betrayal had already happened. All I did was refuse to be its victim. I run Westwood differently now. The headquarters wall features photos of every employee who's been with us 5 years or more. Our profit-sharing plan extends to warehouse staff, and I've started a mentorship program for young women in business, teaching them what I had to learn the hard way. Your greatest strength isn't blind loyalty, it's knowing exactly when to stand your ground. If you're sitting there right now with that sick feeling in your stomach because someone you trusted has betrayed you, know this. That pain can become power when channeled correctly. Document everything. Build alliances strategically. And remember, the most effective revenge isn't emotional, it's methodical. The Westwood sign still carries my family name, but now it truly reflects my grandfather's values again. That's the revenge that matters most, not just taking back what's yours, but making it better than it was before. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.